Just want to give you a quick 5-minute warning. If you need to grab a cup of coffee or make a quick trip downstairs, please do that now. We're going to start shortly. So 5-minute warning. some people to just move down. Just to move down here. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I love the sound of the chatter as everybody is coming in and having opportunity to greet friends that you might not have seen and colleagues you might not have seen for at least a few days, if not weeks or months. A tremendous sound, so I kind of hate to interrupt, but we do need to go ahead and get started. I think there are a few more folks coming in and are finishing up the registration process. Mainly, I just want to say welcome to this, our second annual gathering as the College of Professional and Continuing Studies. It's a little hard for me to believe we're at the end of the third week already. It's kind of like, whoa, where has the time gone? Seems like just yesterday we were preparing to start the semester, but now we are well into it. And I know it's been a very busy few months through the spring and summer, and now into the fall semester since we last met in December for our holiday event. And I'm glad to have this time for us to kind of take a little bit of a breather to just kind of take stock, see where we are, see where we're headed, and look at the work that will be before us over the next several months as we venture on into the future. That will be largely the purpose of our time together this morning. And then we will, after lunch, break into smaller workshop groups for some updates, some really important updates about some process changes that are underway here on campus that are important for you all to know and be aware of. Most of all, I want to begin this day by saying thank you to all of you. I learned long ago that in organizations the size of ours, that the work that is done and the accomplishment of the mission is the sort of thing that I cannot do myself. It requires the best efforts of all of us at all levels of the organization, in all different parts of the organization, doing what we can to embody the core values and to carry out the mission. And you all do that beautifully. And I simply want to start by saying thank you for the effort, the investment that you make in each other and in our students and in the accomplishment of our mission, so that our students and participants can begin to fulfill the aspirations that they have when they come to us. As we did last year, I want us to begin our time together by highlighting the work that you do. So we're going to start with the awards, as we did last year. I'm going to ask Dr. Satterthwaite to join me here at the podium to help make sure we get all the right presentations made. And as a tangible expression of the investment that you all make, we have several awards that are representative of the work that's done all across the college. We're going to start with the Years of Service Awards, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and so forth. And then we have some faculty awards and some staff awards and some teaming awards that we want to give before we finish. So, without further ado, if I can get this to work. What I would like to do is I'm going to read the list of the 5-year awardees and or the 5-year designees, and if you all would make your way forward, we have a certificate of acknowledgement for you, and Shad has those here, and we'll be handing those out. Hang on just a second. Okay, so we have a number, and if you see your name on there, will you go ahead and please be making your way down? So for 5 years of service, we have Roxana Olive, Patricia Kate, Cassandra Eads, Lauren Eichinger, Jennifer Gatlin, Lindsay Gunderson, Thomas Hoyt, Todd Hubbard, Hillary Kirk, Keely Robertson, Cami Soriano, Nasasha Thomas, Robert Edmondson, Derek Wilder, and Todd Westwald. If you all will come down. Now that everybody's blinded and can't see to get back to their seats. No, seriously. Congratulations, all of the five-year folks. We have several who are celebrating 10 years with us. So if your name is on this list, please go ahead and start making your way down. This includes Richard Barton, Rick, I don't know if Rick's here, Michelle Bassam, Robert Carroll, John Duncan, and Haitson Yepa, sorry, I didn't get it all. Did I get it right? Sort of. More or less. Please join me in congratulating our 10-year folks. We have a number of folks that are celebrating 15 years. So as before, if your name is on this list, will you please make your way down as I read the names? Melinda Brown, Christy Burks, Randy Dorneman, Michael Dozier, Sammy Fields, David Lanham, Valerie Peterson Barrow, and Vicki Smith. We have one individual who is celebrating 20 years. Milo, if you'll make your way down here. Milo Stenson. For these folks that are like 20 plus years, we make them swear to silence of everything that they know about this. As we move on and honor some additional senior members, we have two folks who have been here for 25 years, Mr. Robert Doherty and Mr. Frank Rodriguez. I think you guys have a fan club. And lastly, we have one individual who has invested a career here with the College of Professional, what is now the College of Professional and Continuing Studies. Lana Kelly has been here for 40 years. Lana, are you here? We now have 3 faculty awards that we want to present. The first of these is the Kenneth Crook Faculty Achievement Award, and this year's recipient is Dr. Todd Westwald. Todd, I want to read while you're coming down here, if you will, please. This award is for someone who has demonstrated consistent and contributive service to any of the academic programs in the college. It may include work in curriculum program development or other responsibilities as needed. The individual should exemplify the mission and core values of the college. Here is what the nominator said about Dr. Westwald. Dr. Westwald strives to develop, deliver, and maintain a high-quality criminal justice program at both the undergraduate and graduate levels. His efforts have resulted in high national rankings and have increased interest in the major extensively. He cares deeply about his students and the type of education they receive. He is attentive and knowledgeable, innovative, and offers students a carefully designed, exceptional program that they cannot receive elsewhere. Dr. Westwald evaluates program needs in conjunction with current and forecasted knowledge areas of the field, and works to ensure that students receive their education by studying with outstanding practice professionals who connect deeply with them. He is incredibly deserving of this award. Dr. Westwald, congratulations. Our second award is the Rufus Hall Outstanding Professor Award, and it is provided to someone who has given outstanding and meritorious service to the college in one or more areas such as student advisement, teaching, or mentoring, as well as other various responsibilities. And again, the individual is expected to exemplify the college mission and core values. This year's recipient is Professor Kay Ham. Kay, will you join me down here, please? Professor Ham teaches conflict resolution and leadership in organizations in the AL program and embodies the PAC's core values of being student-centered, service-oriented, inclusive, quality-driven, innovative, and acting with integrity. These values are consistently demonstrated in her teaching through feedback and personal interactions with her students. These values are also demonstrated by her service to OU and to the Norman community. She is chair of the City of Norman Human Rights Commission, is on the board of directors for the Xenia Institute for Social Justice, is on the steering committee of the Cleveland County Disability Coalition, and is a volunteer mediator with the Supreme Court of Oklahoma Early Settlement Program for the City of Norman courts. Ms. Ham's students benefit from her real-life leadership example and experiences, and they are motivated and inspired by her dedication to service, social justice, human rights, and mediation. Okay, congratulations. Our third faculty award is the Superior Teaching Award, and this is awarded for someone who has demonstrated superior and excellent teaching and exemplifies the college mission and core values. This year's recipient of the Superior Teaching Award is Dr. Roxana Alavi. Dr. Alavi has been a strong contributing internal faculty member of PAC since her start in 2012. She's a committed teacher, passionate about teaching and about the subjects she teaches. She has been a valuable contributor to the college's efforts to revise its study in-depth undergraduate course and to the development of courses in human diversity at both graduate and undergraduate levels. Roxana serves on numerous comp exam committees, I might say more than you can count, right? And dissertation committees, and has served on the college's Committee A. Her students benefit greatly from her teaching and make comments such as these. I thought Dr. Alavi was one of the most outstanding professors I've ever had. She went above and beyond to explain material to us and engage with us. You could tell that Dr. Alavi genuinely cared about our success. Her courses embody the college's core values and are crucial to creating graduates with the skills and perspectives to contribute positively to society. Roxana, congratulations. We also have several staff members that we want to recognize. The first of these is for the Distinguished Community Service Award. And let me get my notes here. This is an award that is given to someone who has demonstrated superior job performance, service and dedication, personal achievement on behalf of PACS or any of its components, positive relationships with other employees, or other relevant criteria, and also has been involved in helping the college be more known in the community. This Distinguished Community Service Award this year goes to April Williams. The nominator for this award said, "To be honest, I can't even begin to list all the contributions that April makes to our college. I can tell you, however, of the profoundly positive impact she has had, not only on our program, but on me personally. When it became clear that our program would need to look towards other markets and other business lines in order to survive, April dedicated time towards teaching us how to write grants, write proposals, and create adequate budgets. This opened up a whole new world to us, allowing us to expand in ways previously unimagined. She has been a constant support, always answering questions, always there, always kind, always supportive. She wants to see people succeed, and when she sees that she can lend help, she does so freely. She's incredibly intelligent and quickly and easily understands new situations or questions and can easily formulate an appropriate, insightful response. She's dependable, and any time I need advice on a grant or a proposal that I'm writing, she's there to help me succeed. Her representation with a variety of external audiences, including the aviation community, a variety of nonprofits, and second language learners, is outstanding. April, congratulations. We also have 2 Meritorious Service Awards, one for the group of hourly staff and one for the group of monthly staff. The first is for our hourly staff, and again, this is for superior job performance, service and dedication, personal achievement, positive relationships with other employees, and overall effectiveness. This year's recipient of the hourly is Chad Manos. Chad, are you here? Oh, here he comes. Chad's nominator said, over the past several months, there have been unusual professional demands on Chad, which would have broken a lesser person. Last December, 3 site coordinators resigned, and just before the holiday, one of the 2 remaining experienced a sudden illness leading to her passing that same month. Chad took on the duties of all 3 coordinators for several weeks and then helped hire and train the new replacements, providing outstanding performance and service to our students without interruption. He maintained an upbeat, can-do attitude through it all. But what speaks most profoundly about Chad is that he was the one who alerted authorities to check on his coworker when she didn't show up to work, where the authorities subsequently found her. He then coordinated with his coworker's family, checked on her in the hospital, and kept us informed of her situation. His personal holiday period took a back seat to make sure that all was taken care of during her illness. Even beyond these accomplishments, Chad has developed strong relationships with campus departments and within extended campus units, which has led to higher customer satisfaction and much more efficient workflow. His attentiveness to enrollments and coordination with campus academic departments helps our students stay on track and boost revenue in a truly meaningful way. Chad, thank you for your contribution. The Meritorious Service Award for our monthly employee, this year's recipient is Lauren Eichinger. Lauren, are you here? In her responsibility for daily operations of OU Extended Campus North America, Lauren has been a crucial team member in developing and implementing strategic pivots for North American programs. She has served as lead trainer for new site directors and remains the remote Offutt Air Force Base site director as those students finish their courses of study. She has worked to creatively respond to the loss of key programs at the Norman site, and the impact of her engaging and positive attitude cannot be overstated. She creates an esprit de corps that enhances productivity immensely. Through her participation on the university's Leadership Council, she has built positive working relationships with staff colleagues all across campus, and her support of the student veterans is strong and consistent. Lauren, thank you for your contributions to our mission. We have two types of teaming awards. The first is called the Teamwork Award, and this award is given to 2 or more college units in recognition of unique and extraordinary collaborative efforts to create a new program capability, to foster program improvement or service, or to facilitate process improvement. Teamwork ideally involves more than one PACS unit working across lines on a joint project, or it can, in some instances, involve multiple parts of a single program collaborating in ways they had not previously done. This year's Teamwork Award goes to, there we go, Extended Campus Registration and Records and CCEIT for the development of the new student portal for veterans education, the GI Bill benefits. So that involves, I think, Gail, Chuck, Brandon, Will, Michael Kennedy, and Cole Harrison. If you all will come down if you're here so we can present this award. Veteran and military-connected students represent a large and important part of the extended campus student community, and the GI Bill benefits provided by the VA helps those students pay for the cost of their education. It is the PACS R&R Records and Registration VA team's responsibility to make sure that the VA process goes smoothly, so they initiated a collaborative project to facilitate that process. Specifically, these two teams collaborated to create a new student portal for students who utilize their GI Bill benefits. It allows students to request certification for their courses, ensures that the VA team gets all the information needed to process the certifications, and provides real-time status updates for all parties involved. This portal has been highly successful in increasing efficiency, in reducing errors, and in increasing customer satisfaction. Working together, these two teams have created an attractive interface that has transformed the experience of both staff and students and has made incredible advances in efficiency and communication. Thank you to both of your teams for implementing this new initiative. And our last teaming award, some of you will need to stay down here, I might say, is the Vision Award. And the Vision Award is given to 1 or more college units in recognition of a bold, innovative initiative in either a support function or in teaching. The initiative can involve a process or procedure improvement or a new instructional initiative that enhances learning engagement. The 2018 recipients of the Vision Award, again, are CCE, IT, and Registration and Records. I think they've been busy, that's all I can say. And this award is for the creation of the online portal for handling all incomplete grade information. In the spring of 2018, Registration Records, with the support of CCEIT, began developing an online tool to replace the paper incomplete contract and iMakeup forms that had been used previously for all of our online programs. This project involved creation of an easy-to-use, accessible portal to handle the creation and maintenance of those incomplete contracts for students who don't finish their coursework on time in the normal time frame of a course, as well as for processing the follow-up that's needed once the work is complete. Rather than the laborious quadruplicate paper forms that we had, all of us struggled to use previously, that would get lost at multiple points along the way, The new process automatically populates the needed fields, walks the instructors through the process of providing the needed information, and most importantly, provides notifications and updates that are automatic and real-time, so that anyone needing to know can see the information on a student's status at any moment. Not only has implementation streamlined the process across extended campus programs, but now main campus, specifically the Graduate College, has expressed interest in adapting that tool for deployment on a university-wide basis. So they've noticed and said, that's a good idea. So congratulations to the teams that worked on the online Portal for Incompletes. At this point, what I would like to do is to give you a couple of minutes to stand up and stretch before I start into some remarks and updates. I know you've been sitting there a while, and I thought it might be a good idea. Don't go away, but I'll give you like 2.5 minutes, so you may want to stand up, stretch, grab some water or some coffee very quickly, and we'll start again in just a minute. Okay, I think we've had a couple of minutes. If you could take your seats, please. Okay. As we begin this portion of our morning, I want to start by providing you a little bit of background. Those of you should have received a program when you came in, or an agenda when you came in, and you will see on it that we have made it look like a passport with the theme of courageous transformation. I want to tell you a little bit about how that theme arose. Back in the spring, it was probably in March sometime, about the time that the task forces were finishing their work and their reports were coming in, and there were just mountains and mountains of information that had been generated, tremendous good work, but a massive amount of data to try to bring together and coalesce into what ultimately has and will and has become our new organizational thrust and structure and chart. All of that, I had spent an afternoon combing through all of that and went home feeling pretty overwhelmed, thinking there is no way on God's earth that we are going to be able to bring this together in any sort of coherent fashion and make sense out of where we need to go from here. Was feeling a little overwhelmed, a little bit discouraged, knowing that we had made tremendous progress, but some days you just kind of, it's just a little harder than others. Went home and, as all good tired folks do, I went home, plopped in my easy chair, turned on the TV. And it happened to be at the time that they were doing fundraising for public television. And as you know, they do all sorts of specials during that time. And one of my favorite singing groups happened to be doing a concert that evening on OETA, Celtic Women. Some of you may know of the group. They're one of my favorites, and I like Irish folk tunes and so forth, so they're one of my favorites. And just happened to start into an Irish ballad as I sat down that is the story of Annie Moore. Annie Moore is the 15-year-old, although some would dispute and say she was 17, nonetheless, the young adult who was the first immigrant processed through Ellis Island when it opened in 1892. She had immigrated from Ireland. Her parents had come to the U.S. about 5 years before, had left their 3 children behind, she and her 2 brothers. And it was her responsibility to bring her 2 brothers with her to the United States and to make the journey from Ireland to the United States. She was the first immigrant processed through Ellis Island. And the ballad that they were singing is the story of her journey. And it's entitled Isle of Hope, Isle of Tears. And it talks about both the anticipation that she had in coming to the new world, as well as the grief for what she had left behind, knowing that she would never go back to the country that she had come from, and yet filled with anticipation about what lays ahead. And there was one particular line in the song that struck me in a way that spoke and said, this is us. This is the journey that we are making. And the song, in the verse, it says, in a little bag she carried all her past and history. and her dreams for the future in the land of liberty. And this is the phrase, and courage is the passport when your old world disappears. And I thought, that's us. Our old world that we knew of outreach back in the day when it was and what it was is no longer. That country is gone. And we, in the beginning of 2017, set out on a new journey. And it is a journey that has taken us, had a number of twists and turns already, where we have had some smooth sailing and some kind of rough seas already. But we are now embarking on yet a new chapter. And the way that we will move forward is through courageous transformation. Courage is our passport for the future that lays ahead of us. It is an unlimited future. It is limited only by our imagination, but it is also only limited by the degree to which we are unable to muster the courage to pursue it. I have great confidence in all of us together being able to courageously continue the transformation that we began when that journey started in January of 2017. Our old world is gone, and the change that faces us is a courageous transformation. So I want to spend a few minutes in talking about what does that transformation look like? Where are we going from here? Best thing to do is to say, where have we come from? And so on the screen, you briefly see just the highlights of where we have been. This is not new information. You know that in January 2017, we set out on the journey. The new college was born. We spent a few months re-examining our mission and our values and setting a new vision. We got approval for the renaming of the college. We got approval for a new branding initiative to be known as OU Extended Campus to differentiate from our past. And then last fall, we began in depth having the task forces working on specific initiatives and what that might look like for our future, to have those reports submitted supposed to be in April, but it was actually May when most of them came in. And then we spent the summer finalizing, pulling all of that together to say, what does that mean then for how we are organized in the future? And I am happy to announce that the proposal that we submitted and that many of the directors had input, and I think many of them shared those with you to get your input as well. We have received official approval from the Provost's office to proceed with the reorganization. And I am so glad to be able to say we are going now. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like, knowing that the accomplishments that we have made so far are really just the launching point for where we go from here. In doing that, though, I want to always return to what are I had in my notes to say lodestar, and I thought, no, can't say that. What is our guide star, I'll say, for keeping us on track for where we are going, and that is our mission and our core values and our strategic initiatives. As you know, our mission is to provide access to transformational, world-class, University of Oklahoma degrees, certifications, and programs for a diverse group of learners. 3 key words in that mission: access, transformation, and world-class. Those are the things that we focus on in our mission. Our uniqueness at the University of Oklahoma is that we provide educational programming for those who otherwise are not able to access the University of Oklahoma. We do that with the intent of changing people's lives. If they are not changed by the work that we do, we're not doing it as well as we can. So we have to focus on what's the transformative potential that our students and participants have by coming to us and by our partnering with them. In addition, we do that world class. We are not going to just do it to get by. We expect to be among the best of the best. That is our mission, and that will not change. Just as important as what we do is how we do it. So our core values that we re-articulated last year of being student-centered, of being service-oriented, of being inclusive, of focusing on quality, of being innovative and acting with integrity, that must be who we are. And I'm grateful for all of you day in and day out as you embody those core values. I see it at work. One of the things that we want to do to communicate and always remind ourselves of the core values that we hold is we are going to be implementing in the next, hopefully next week, working on it, and every other week newsletter that we will distribute internally to help everybody kind of keep abreast of changes and what's happening, comings and goings, new staff, people who are leaving. And in that newsletter, one of the things that we will do is we will with each edition, focus on a different core value. And we want to do that through story. We want each of you to catch each other embodying the core values. So we are going to be coming to you to say, help us identify a time when you saw a colleague embody the core value of being student-centered or service-oriented or innovative. Help us tell the story and remind ourselves not just of what we do, but of who we are. So we're going to be coming to you to help us tell that story consistently over and over again so that we never forget. We also need to know, where are we going? What are we going to be doing for the future? And that involves our strategic initiatives. And remember, there are 4. Haven't changed, same ones as we had last year. Grow, help our students succeed, be relevant, and be efficient. Those 4 are the priorities that we have for where we go from here. And I don't ever want us to forget those. I told some of my dean colleagues a few months ago, when we were in a meeting, and sort of an informal meeting, I said, what I want is our core values and our strategic initiatives to become so embedded within our organizational psyche and every person that is associated with Extended Campus, that if you wake them up in the middle of the night and ask them, what are your core values and what are your strategic initiatives, they can tell you. So that's my commission to you is, on those nights when you have insomnia, work on this list and it'll put you to sleep. As I think about these, I'm reminded, I think it was a JFK quote. He talked about, as many of you know, he wrote Profiles in Courage, so courage was an important theme of his work and life. But interestingly, he did also make the comment, he said, effort and courage are not enough without purpose and direction. So what we have to do is to keep all of that held together, our mission and our strategic initiatives held together with the courage to embody our core values. So we must focus on those strategic initiatives. Now, as you know, as we did that, last year, I felt that one of the things I needed to do was to hear from you. What does that look like? Each of you occupy a different place in the organization. You have different perspectives. You have an important voice in helping us to know how this might look as we move forward. So I wanted to hear from you and felt like the best way to do that was by creating the set of task forces that began working last October. And as you know, they're roughly equivalent to the strategic initiatives, although not perfectly. It's not a perfect overlay. But the task forces of distance expansion, integrated marketing and recruitment, student success, and learning of the future were designed to provide a mechanism for you to have input into our conversation of where we go from here. What does that need to look like? And the ultimate goal that I had for that task force process was to be able to say, it's great to have strategic initiatives, but at some point, those have to be translated into actions. They have to be translated into priorities, into tactics of what do we do first, and what do we do second, what do we do third, and how do we go about actually implementing pursuit of those strategic initiatives. So out of the task forces, that's what I asked for. What are your priorities? What do you, from your perspective, be that the group focused on student success or the group focused on learning the future, what do you think are the high priorities of what we need to be attending to as we move forward? All of those reports came back in, as you know, back in the spring. And interestingly, there were a number of common themes that emerged across all of the task forces. There were too many to really even enumerate. If I actually did go through all the task reports and made a list, and it was like 7 pages long of all the good ideas that came out of that work. What I was most interested in, however, is what is common across groups. What are the things where there are common pain points, where there are common possibilities, where there are missed opportunities? What are the things that folks are saying across all of the groups that are things that are high priorities for us to pursue, regardless of the area that it may be, in? And interestingly, there were about 8 themes that emerged out of those task force reports. If I can get them to come up here. Hello. Okay. The emergent themes, there were 8 of these, and I'm just going to briefly highlight them. But the important thing to take away from this is that they all point in the same direction. The first theme across everything was that we need better data and analytics. We have a lot of data, we don't have good use of that data, and we are not using it to make decisions. The second theme was that there are a lot of missed synergies. The silos that we have been in for many, many years have not optimized our ability to work together, and there are a lot of synergistic possibilities that by harnessing our working together can be pursued in ways that were unavailable to us previously. There was a theme about needing to be more nimble and responsive to new opportunities. There was also a theme that talked about we do have a good bit of redundancy and some inefficiencies because we've each kind of been left to do our own thing. That we could address and that will help us as we move forward. Another theme was the need for scalability, being able to scale up to larger numbers or broader audiences when new initiatives come about. Another theme was the need for a better integrated infrastructure, which is sort of related to the efficiency, redundancy, and scalability issues, is that there are a number of infrastructure things that impede us, and this is not just with regard to us internally in Extended Campus, but for the campus at large. Many of you know some of the cumbersome interfaces that constrain our ability to work as effectively as we might because of some of the, whether it be computer systems or policies or those kinds of things. But there was note of, across all of the task forces, that integrated infrastructure was a missing piece. There was also the observation that there's very uneven quality of service across our programs and across time. And there was also the notation of needing better communication. These were the themes, the 8 themes that seemed to pervade across all the different components, all the different task force groups. Interestingly, as the more I immersed myself in those reports and those themes and trying to make sense of it, the thing that became very clear is that we didn't have a unified organizational culture. We had 7 or 8 different cultures that have kind of grown up on their own, had kind of had their own subculture within, and that our task was to figure out how do we bring all of that together in a meaningful way that allows us to do our work and to serve our individual populations, but also to take advantage of the synergies and the efficiencies and a better integrated infrastructure. How do we do that? And those themes all pointed to this need for a more unified organizational culture. So that was the place that I began working from in trying to say, how do we recraft an organizational structure that makes sense then? Out of those task force themes, then there were 9 tactical priorities that emerged that said, okay, this is what we have to do first. And these are the things that we have to be able to address as we move into a new organizational structure, a new organizational climate. And I briefly, again, want to just list what those are, if I can get it to cooperate. There are 9 of these, and these are the things that are embedded now, I hope, will be embedded as we move forward with the new organizational structure, but I want to use them as a framework before talking about the reorg itself. Number one, realign for scalability. Number two, build in more robust data and analytics. Number three, pursue and make sure we have built in some sort of advancement function. For those of you that have been around the college very long, you know that we have never had a very extensive alumni or donor set of activities. We have presumed that development primarily focused on new program development, not donor development or alumni development. With the number of graduates that we have in our combined set of programs, we need to be building relationships with our alumni in a systematic way, and we need to be capitalizing on those relationships to develop a stronger donor base who can help us get where we need to go. So building in an advancement function is a high priority. It also became clear that the old distance delivery model that we had used was no longer viable. With the changes in military policy, increases in deployment cycles, changes in TA, and so forth, it has become very clear that the old model that we had that was solely site-based, that is where we were restricted to being on a base in whatever location, particularly in the continental US, the number of students that we can serve through that model is just not viable. So we have to think of different models for delivering. And so one of the high priority tactical initiatives, and some of you have heard me talk about this, is to move to what in the vernacular of the field is called storefront distance delivery. What that means is that rather than restricting ourselves to a base location, we still focus on the military and affiliated populations in certain areas, but we open up across the street, and then we are not restricted in terms of the programs that we can offer. We can get civilians in those programs, which we cannot do when we are restricted to base. We can build out programs on what we believe and what the market research tells us will be sustainable in any given location, rather than being, if you will, held hostage to whatever that particular ESO or that base commander wants and restricted from doing anything else. So we need to migrate to a different model in our distant sites, and we'll be actively doing that. We also need to have a more coherent financial model. What I mean by that is, in the old system, we have 5 different financial models. There was one financial model for what was liberal studies. There was a different financial model for what was AP. There was a different financial model for what was CITL. There was a different financial model for what was CECIL. There was a different financial model for aviation, all of them different. And simply, that's not anybody's fault. It's just simply that all of those were developed at different times and with individual negotiations about how shall we do this. What that ultimately does, though, is it undermines our ability to be nimble, to be scalable, and to be as efficient as we can, because we have to spend a whole lot of time taking care of the details here that are different than the details here that are different than the details here that are different than the details here. So we have to find a more coherent financial model that is sustainable across all of the work for the college. Another is, and this is one that has taken on increased priority in the last 3 months, is to establish break-even protocols for all programs. Through a variety of factors, and this is not anyone's fault, but I do think it's important for you to know that through a variety of factors, drops in enrollment, changes in the way that monies are funneled from some of the programs that we previously operated, variety of different things. We finished FY18 $3.7 million in the red. Let that sink in. It's on a roughly $35 million overall gross revenue budget, about a $30 million, well, $25 million expense budget. The new president, President Gallagher, has come in, and I was privileged to meet with him at the end of June, before he actually officially took office. And in talking with him, I was curious to find out what his perspective was about extended campus type of operations. What's your perspective on that? What is your understanding of that? And fortunately, he does have a good understanding. He himself finished his degree in an extended campus setting. He went to the University of Colorado at Colorado Springs, a branch campus. So he understands the idea of branch campuses, of extended campus work, and is very appreciative of our ability to take OU, in our case, to people who would otherwise not have access. However, given the overall financial situation of the university at large, he made it crystal clear in that meeting that the one thing that we cannot do is run in the red. So the mandate that we have is that we must be break even by June 30 of 2019. So what that means, and many of you I've already been working with to re-examine new initiatives, places we can cut expenses, how we can reformat what we do so that we can streamline some of our services. But we have to wipe out that $3.7 million by June 30 of this coming year. That is an immense task. I'm very confident, though, that we can do it, because I know the kind of work that you all and the kind of creativity that you bring to these sorts of challenges. It's not insurmountable, and we will be able to do it. We will have to make some hard decisions, but we have to, in the reorganization, be very cognizant of the fact that that is the expectation moving forward. So just FYI, I have quit using, and I'll talk a little more about this in a second, I've quit using the terminology that we are self-funded. We are not. We are break-even plus funded. And what that means is that we are expected not only to break even, but to also return a portion of our proceeds to the University of Oklahoma main campus central administration. That has to be built in, and part of our, quote, deficit is because of the 26% that we currently provide off of our gross revenues that goes directly back to main campus. That's not going to change. So we have to find a way forward that allows us to grow in ways and to cost save in ways that will get us to where we are break even plus in a sustainable way. So I know that's kind of a downer, but I want to be transparent and honest with you. That's where we are. And so when we have conversations about, we've got to cut travel, or we really have to modify how we're doing this program, and we need to be providing more online course sections and fewer on-site sections, that's why, is because it's all in an attempt to try to get a handle on getting us to break even by the end of 2019. In addition to that, we have some pretty significant capital needs across the college. And we have not had a capital support plan, a long-term capital plan for how do we replace our big ticket items? Things like airplanes, how do we replace those? We've not had a plan that is sustainable for doing that. So in addition to, on the operational side, making sure that we are breaking even, we also need to be looking long-term toward, the way that higher ed is going, we're probably going to have some significant IT needs over the next 3 to 5 years if we want to be staying current with how learning technologies are developing. We need the funds to be able to invest in those kind of capital improvements, and so we have to attend to our capital support needs. In addition, many of you have heard President Gallagly talk about his goal of doubling research funding in the next 5 years. So what that means for us is that that's an opportunity that we can pursue. We have some areas where enhancing our research endeavors can be quite effective, and we need to be able to be organized in a way that allows us to pursue that potential in the most expeditious fashion that we can, so that we can be a part of that picture as we move forward and a part of that, participating in that goal. And most of all, we need to be making sure that we are focusing on market-driven, market-responsive programming. We live and die by our enrollments. So what that means is we have to be able to attract students to our programs. We need to be offering programs that students want to come to, that they see value in, and that are responsive to changing and emerging markets. These are the top priorities as I see them that emerge out of all of our conversation with the task forces. And these considerations are what have driven the overall process of, okay, then in light of this, how do we organize ourselves in a way that gives us our best shot to address all of these priorities? Now, one of the things that I want to highlight about the tactical priorities is this is a dynamic list. This is the list for right now. As soon as we get some traction on some of these, there's going to be something else that will enter that list. So it's not a stagnant list of like, this is the list for the next 25 years. This is the list for now. And it's going to be a list that will continually have to be changed and updated as the horizon changes, as the landscape of higher ed changes, as the landscape of the university changes. We have to be responsive to those changes and be able to be proactively dynamic in what the tactical priorities are for us. Before I actually, and in just a minute I'm going to have my helpers hand out a handout that I want to walk you through then on the reorganization. Before they do that, I want to talk about a couple of, three actually, assumptions that I have made in the reorganization as it finally came together. One of those I've already alluded to, and that is that our financial model moving forward is what I'm referring to as break-even plus. What that means is that we will continue to be expected to provide significant funding to main campus in excess of what it costs us to operate. The reason, and let me give you the rationale, the reason I am no longer using the term self-funded for us is that self-funded implies, in the business world, implies that you have all your revenues and you have all your expenses, and you have the freedom to make sure that your expenses don't exceed your revenues, right? In our case, we are self-expensed, we are not self-revenued, because of the significant percentage of our gross revenue that goes immediately to main campus that we do not have access to pay our bills and to run our programs. So we're self-expensed, but we're not self-revenued. So that's why saying that we are self-funded is really a bit of a misnomer, because we do not have the latitude to operate as a business fully would. Now, I think we'll get there, but we're going to have to grow our way there with the help of the new president. And he, as a businessman, he gets that and understands where we are. But it's going to take some time, because the funds that we provide them, the roughly $14 million a year that we provide off the top to Central Campus, they rely on that and are going to continue to rely on that, and will continue to expect us to provide that as we move forward. So we have to find a way forward in the new model that allows us to sustain that level and not have it go down, but grow as we grow our way out, replace those funds so that it gives us the latitude to move forward in a more healthy fashion. So that's why I say it's really not appropriate to say that we're self-funded, because technically we're not. So I'm using different terminology, calling it break-even plus. The second assumption, and that's an assumption in the new org structure, is that we have to find a way to have that pervade what we do. The second is that our target population will continue to be what I'm calling, and I will tip my hat to Frank on this terminology, neo-traditionals. This is the emerging term. Many of you know that the term non-traditional has historically been used to identify adult learners. The new term that is emerging is neo-traditional, because the fact of the matter is that there are many students who are traditional age, that is, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, that might be considered traditional, that are not. They are single parents. They may be working 2 jobs. They may be embedded in their communities, and there is no way they're going to move to Norman, Oklahoma to attend college. They also are a part of this neo-traditional pool that we can serve in addition to the average 37-year-old who wants to take our programs studying at a distance, who may be in the military or may be a working professional. So our target population will need to remain what historically was the non-traditional, but the neo-traditional student. That is the student that is not otherwise served by programs that require a student to come to Norman, Oklahoma in order to study. That's the second assumption. The third assumption is what I'm calling optimized placement in dealing with the new organizational culture. And what I mean by this is I make the assumption that the best functioning organizations are ones where people can invest in their work and can feel like they make a difference. Insofar as possible, I want folks to be in the right seats in the place on the bus where they can make the most contribution. So as we are moving through the reorganization, I want to do our very best to get things rearranged in a way that allows you, each of you individually, to optimize your contribution, rather than saying, well, this is what you've always done, that's what you're going to keep on doing. This is an opportunity for us to revisit where can you make the best contribution as we're moving forward. And that's what I mean by optimized placement. Now, in doing that, I want you to also know, I will do, again, insofar as it's possible, I want you to know that my commitment is that we will not do reductions in force. We have thus far been able to handle what we have needed to through attrition and reorganization and kind of shifting things around. I intend to continue doing that. So that we are not, this has never been, and in my view should not be, about reductions in force, still won't be. And I will do my very, very best to make sure that folks aren't going to, you don't have to worry about your salary being in danger, that even if we have somebody moving into a slightly different spot, my commitment is, insofar as I possibly can, I want to make sure that those salary levels remain whole. So I want to, as much as I can, remove any kind of anxiety you might have about, what's going to happen to me. I know that's a very real concern that a lot of folks have. I need for us to set those aside in order to be able for us to move forward in the healthiest fashion. And that's what I mean by optimized placement in the new organizational structure. As we began working on the new organizational structure, it became very clear that we needed to attend to two different things that had not always been clearly delineated before. And that is that we really need two charts. We need to attend to, in the rationale for what we do with realignment, we need to attend to a set of what are called governance issues that have to do with how do you provide curricular oversight, how do you provide program guidance, how do you make sure that the folks that know the fields are the ones who are making the call on how that program develops and what's included and so forth. And then we also need to attend to the operational support structure that makes it possible for us to do what we do. So what I'm going to show you here in just a second, actually there are two charts. There's a governance chart and there's an operational chart. And I want to walk you through both of those. I would also note that, and if you guys want to go ahead and hand those out, they're handouts so that you all can see, because it's going to be on the screen, but I know it's going to be kind of hard to see because it's pretty small. I want to make note that the full proposal, the reorganization proposal that has been approved by the provost, will be on the Creating Together website. I'm not sure whether it's there yet, but if it's not there yet, it should be there later today or Monday for sure if it's not there yet. Give everybody a minute to get a copy of the copies should be coming down your row. if you would, I'd like to start with the chart on the side that says governance. If you would, take a look at that. And the full proposal has a lot of the detail fleshed out that supports what you see on these two charts. This is just an excerpt from the overall proposal. So I would very much encourage you to go to the full proposal to get the broader context and the deeper descriptions of what's represented in both charts, actually. But I want to hit a few highlights for you as you have it before you. I want to start with the red boxes that are kind of in the middle. What this has proposed and has now been approved is that we need to have a different kind of terminology for the programming that we do. So you will see in that middle column identifiers that we have 5 schools: aviation studies, leadership studies, criminal justice studies, human and health services studies, and integrative and cultural studies. Those are the programs that we internally govern. They are ones that, if you will, we, quote, own. They are the ones for which we are fully responsible in terms of curricular oversight. At the bottom is we also have a number of other programs that we deliver either in conjunction with another entity or on behalf of another entity. And those we use the terminology division rather than school. So campus-affiliated programs, you know that we have a number of programs that we offer on behalf of campus departments, be that economics or communication or international relations or whatever it may be. We don't own those programs. We only deliver those programs. They are governed elsewhere. That's why you see a dotted line around those boxes. English language learner programs are ones that we don't own. We deliver those in conjunction with other campus areas and with external groups. Likewise, our life learning programs we offer in conjunction with, be that OSHER, be that a variety of other external entities, EDI, et cetera. There are other programs that we offer. So the dashed line indicates those are programs that we do not internally govern, but we deliver. So what you have is all of our programs, that is the what of what we do. What we deliver is in that center column in red on your handout, and the red doesn't show up very well on here against a red background. In order to have a clearinghouse or a broader consideration for the kinds of curricular oversight that needs to happen, in this new configuration, there is an academic curriculum and policies committee or council that any curricular changes is required to go through. So that's why you see the dotted lines going up to the Academic and Curriculum and Policies Council that then go on up through the Associate Dean and the Dean, and ultimately, if they are substantial changes, would have to go to Grad Council, APC, and so forth. But internally, the Academic Curriculum and Policies Council is the group that is responsible for governing curricula, all of the curricula that are internally owned by the college. There are dotted lines from the non-owned programs, because sometimes there are things about the delivery of programs, policies and so forth that interface that need to be considered by that group, but technically they're not owned by that group again, so I want to make sure that distinction is clear. The Academic Curriculum and Policies Council is populated by representatives from the 3 faculty groups that you see on the left-hand side. We have internal PACS faculty, campus affiliate faculty, and our practice professionals. There are those three representative sets of faculty are the who of what does our instructional work. There are representatives from each of those groups on the Academic Curriculum and Policies Council. So, and all of this is spelled out in more detail in the full proposal. So, you know how many of what and how often they meet and all that sort of thing is there. But I want you to recognize that faculty, that is a faculty-governed committee. It is a faculty-owned shared governance committee that provides oversight, which is an important consideration in the university context. Faculty have to be the ones that green light or red light whatever happens with the curriculum, and this is the mechanism for doing so. You will also note over on the right-hand side that every program cluster, if you will have an industry advisory board or an advisory committee of some sort. Given the nature of the populations that we work with and our strategic initiative of relevance, it is incredibly important for us to stay closely tied to the workplace. And so having industry advisory boards or advisory committees that can help us know, are we still relevant? Are we doing what your workforce needs? Will be an important way for us to achieve that goal of relevance, is helping them help us know, we need this new thing added, or we really aren't using that anymore, or here are some skills that we need to make sure are attended to by those who are graduating from your programs and are already in our workplaces. Those industry advisory boards, again, the reason that they have a dotted line to the middle section is they're not governance. They can't dictate what happens in programs, they can only advise and provide input to the schools and the faculty for what ultimately what actions are taken. A representative from each of those advisory boards then folds up into a college-wide board of visitors that I can use as a sounding board across all of our programs as we're addressing the strategic initiatives. And knowing the importance in our context, we are very different than a traditional set of departments or a traditional college. Most colleges are faculty heavy and staff light. We are just the opposite. We have faculty who are largely contingent. We have a few internal faculty, but most of our instruction is done by practice professionals or affiliate faculty. And we are very staff heavy. Given that, I think it's really important for staff to have a voice. Even though technically it's not a governing voice, it's not through the Academic Curriculum and Policies Council, but I think it's important for staff to have a place where they can express their perspectives, concerns, observations, ideas, creativity. And so you will see over on the left-hand side in the purple outline boxes the establishment of a staff advisory council that will meet regularly and provide input on whatever is deemed appropriate. And I want that mechanism to be built in as well so that staff have a regular means of having a voice. Okay, make sense? The things that you see on this side of the chart are the governance-related aspects. On the opposite side is the chart that identifies how we bring together all of our various support operations that have been scattered through multiple silos, programmatic silos in the past. In this configuration, we establish 4 basically clusters of functions, if you will. One cluster having to do with curriculum and faculty support, another cluster having to do with student success, another cluster having to do with advancement/development, and another cluster having to do with general administrative support. And the idea is that the support operations, the folks in the support operations areas, provide support across all programmatic areas that are on the other side. So rather than having a specific person that is fully embedded within a particular program, that person may provide support for multiple programs now as we move forward. But these 4 areas, and each of those areas will be led by an assistant dean, and I'm going to talk in a second about how that process of identifying assistant deans will work. There are 3 or 4 functions that you see that come directly off of the dean line at the top that are advisory and transcend across all areas. So strategic planning, research and analytics, and coordination of distance sites, those are things that I am retaining as direct inputs to me because they transcend across all of the four support areas. Now, I want to make a couple of notes because I don't want anybody to panic. There have been some questions as we've been looking at this configuration about what happens to shared services, what has been shared services. And the easy answer, the bottom line answer to that is nothing. All of you who are in the shared service areas like registration and records or like BAO or those are contract admin, this does not change anything for you. You are not on this chart. So you will continue to function in exactly the same way that you have in alliance with the areas that you see mapped here. So I don't want anybody to panic, and what I have done is outlined in orange the places where there are interfaces, the strongest interfaces with the shared service areas. So that's why the boxes are in orange on the support operations chart. This is a very different configuration than what we have had heretofore. And is one that will take some getting used to. And as we go from here, what I'll be doing is being available in the days ahead for whoever, if you have questions or you want to have some small group discussion about, okay, what does this mean? We'll make some times available for having a QA kind of time for you should you wish to do that. The question is, how do we get from where we are to where we need to go? And we have a variety of next steps that we're going to need to implement. And it's been long enough. We don't need to have a whole lot longer. We need to just, as they used to say in my old neighborhood, get her done. So what I am recommending is a fairly aggressive timeline on next steps. There are next steps of what we have to do to be ready to move into this transition on the governance side and on the operations side. So let me just give you a quick flyover of what that looks like as I'm seeing it. Our next steps, governance-wise, are going to involve a variety of, the work has really just begun. We are going to need to revise the college bylaws to reflect this new organizational structure. We'll have to establish the specific guidelines for the Academic Policies and Curriculum Council. We'll have to revise the promotion and tenure guidelines and to reflect the new governance model and revised Committee A guidelines. We'll have to establish guidelines for the Staff Advisory Council. We'll have to establish guidelines for the industry advisory boards and the advisory committees. And all of that will have to be done so we can submit it to the provost in order for him to approve it to be able to implement January 1. Oop. That's a lot of work, and I know it's a lot of work, but I'm very confident that we can get it done in order to be able to move ahead. Similarly, on the operations side, we also have a number of tasks that we will have to do. Specifically, and we will actually begin this afternoon, one of the things that is absolutely crucial, some of you have already provided this, and if you have, that's great, but it's very hit or miss across the organization, is as we're making the migration from the old to the new, from the old world to the new world, we need to make sure that we have completely up-to-date and accurate descriptions of what you currently do in your existing position to make sure that we don't lose anything in the cracks in the move from the old to the new. We want to make sure that services are uninterrupted to our students and our constituents. And so as we're attending to a transition plan, we have to make sure that we know the full ground that is covered there and make sure that we have a place for it in the new and we know how we're going to get from one to the other. The place to start in doing that is that we've got to have complete, accurate job descriptions for what you currently do for every single position that we currently have, even those that are open. And this afternoon in the HR workshop, they will help you begin to get started on that and give you a timeline for when we will have to have that information. In terms of how we begin to move forward on the operations side, my intent is that we will do that in a phased fashion, that what we will do first is fill the assistant dean positions and the program director positions, and that we then, after those are populated, those folks will help flesh out what happens in all of the other components of the organization. So it'll be a multi-phase process. So we have to post and screen and get the assistant dean and program director positions filled. We'll have to finalize the specific responsibilities, as I said, from this list to make sure nothing gets lost in process from support service area, old and new. We then will have to fill the supervisor level positions in the chart, in all the balance of the chart, and migrate all the rest of the staff from one position to another. Now, and Patrick is not here today, which, by the way, those of you that have not heard, their baby was born Tuesday night, 11:02, Jean Marie. So congratulations to Patrick. He is not here today, but our conversations have been, we are going to do this in a way that, as best we can, optimizes the placement that I talked about earlier. So if you have not already made aware to either Shad or Patrick or myself or your supervisor an interest that you have maybe in, if you want to do something different, if there's something that is like, I don't ever want to do that again, whatever that may be, make them aware of that, because we want to have all of that at our disposal as we are getting this new configuration populated. Because I deeply, deeply, deeply want everybody to be able to fully invest every ounce of their energy that they can in the work that they're doing. And the best way to do that is to know, what pushes your buttons? What are you passionate about? Now, having said that, I recognize all of us sometimes have to do stuff we don't like to do. And I can't say that there won't be any of that, but to the extent we possibly can, we really want to allow everyone to be able to optimize their position in the organization. I know there are lots of questions, and we can't handle all of them here today, and I want to finish up. This is the beginning of the conversation. Transition is messy. There is no two ways about it. And all the more reason then that we have to go back to our core values and our strategic initiatives that guide us as we're moving through this process. The anxiety and the courage that it will take to move through that anxiety needs to be driven by those core values. How do we serve each other? How do we serve our students? How do we make sure that we include all the voices that we need to as we're moving forward? How do we make sure we're maintaining quality? How do we think outside the box? And how do we make sure that we maintain high levels of respect and dignity and vulnerability that all go into the sense of integrity as we work together? How do we do that? That needs to pervade all of us as we move forward. So welcome to the messiness, and I implore you to have courage, to take courage in the messiness as we walk together into this incredible future that lies before us. This is the beginning of a conversation, and I am delighted to have all of you as conversation partners and to be journeying with you in this courageous transformation that we are about to undertake. So thank you. We will continue to have conversations as time unfolds, and I am more than happy to visit with any of you about if you have particular questions or you're not sure about something. A number of the questions that you have may very well be addressed in the fuller document that is on the Creating Together website. So I encourage you to explore that and do it for the deeper dive of things that you may want to know as we move forward. So thanks for your investment. I do have a couple of announcements before we break for lunch. This afternoon, as I mentioned, we're going to be doing training updates for the time period 12:30 to 3:15, and it's on a rotating basis. There are actually 4 different sessions that are going to be going on in about 40-minute increments from place to place. On your name tag, if you look on the back, it will tell you where you need to go when to get to the right one in order to make sure that everybody circulates through all 4. This is required for all of our internal staff and for our internal faculty. Those of you that are adjuncts and our other contingent folks are not, you're welcome to join us, but you don't have to if you don't, if your schedules don't permit. At this point, I want to say thank you to the presenters. I believe contract admin Courtney, I think, she here? Yeah, Courtney is the person who is leading the contract admin training and updates. Ruthie, I saw here somewhere, Ruthie is doing the BAO updates. Marketing and the updates from public affairs, Holly is doing, and I appreciate her doing that. And then because Patrick is unable to be with us today, he wanted to stay home with his new baby, can you believe it? We have a couple of folks, Diana Biggerstaff and Debbie Barrett from our campus HR, who are going to facilitate that session. And that's the session in which they will help you get started on making sure that we have complete, accurate job descriptions for everything that we're currently doing. So time for lunch. I know you guys have been sitting for a long time. Time for lunch. You'll have until 12:30, then we will break out into those subsessions. Wish you well. Thank you for being here this morning. Instructions for lunch. Those of you that are from here over, go down this stairwell. Those of you here, if you'll go out this stairwell, there are the vegan, vegetarian, special diet, gluten-free, and so forth. Those meals are near the cafe downstairs, the little cafe area. And if you'll need to see Missy to get a ticket if you are one of those folks who needs vegan, gluten-free, etc. Thank you all for being here. Are they ready? Hey everyone, I hope that you have found the sessions, the workshop sessions we've had this afternoon to be helpful updates and interesting in understanding the new landscape, and that you have gotten useful information for where we go from here. As we finish the day today, I want to say thank you to some of the folks that have made today possible. They're listed on the back of your program: our award selection committee, the staff in my office, our duplicating and postal folks, the forum and conference service staff, our marketing folks, OU Catering, our photographers, Travis and Hugh today, our records and registration folks for their assistance in getting everyone registered, video and media services for the help in recording today's sessions. And finally, I want to make note of something that I forgot a little bit earlier, and that is to thank all of you for your help in our extended family Helping Hands Committee. Over this year, through the efforts, the various fundraising that we have done, we have raised over $1,400, and I am excited to say that that has then been used to help 6 different kids and 3 different families with their school supplies and being ready to have a great year, and that's thanks to your generosity and your giving hearts that have allowed that to happen. Thank you, and keep on watch for the things that we'll be doing to raise funds from here on in. As we finish today, I want to leave you with just a couple of additional thoughts. One is the quote by Nelson Mandela that I think all of you have probably heard, that says that courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the triumph over it. The brave individual is not the one who doesn't feel afraid, but the one that, despite the fear, conquers it. As I said, we are in a time of courageous transformation, and as we leave here today, I want to leave you with just this one final thought. That is that our hope lies in our dreams, in our imagination, and in the courage of those who dare to make dreams into reality. Hopeful, imaginative, courageous future, that's where we're headed. And together, I'm confident that we can make our dreams into reality. Thank you for being together on this journey. I wish all of you a wonderful weekend and a hopeful, imaginative, courageous one as we move together ahead. Thank you all. Have a great weekend.